You know that song and says like three, two, one, go. Boom, 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 ba-doom. You don't know. Okay, never mind.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Welcome back with another episode of Beyond with Liz. Today I am joined by Fallon Carter. She is my dear friend, wedding planner. I'm going to let you introduce yourself because I feel like you can give all of the background about you and all of those things.
Mm. Hi, my name is Fallon. I am a part-time therapist, part-time life coach. No, I'm Fallon. I have a wedding planning business called Fallon Carter Events. We specialize in destination events, intentional events, and I live around the world. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's me. Hi.
Yeah, I was about to say I wouldn't even say a nomad life because that's not even, doesn't even do it justice.
I know. I don't think I'm bold enough to be a nomad. Like
Yeah,
I still need a place to put my things.
yeah. Sally and I have known each other since 2018, I think was our first wedding together.
Wow.
Yeah, like our first wedding was actually in Cleveland, Ohio,
It
where I'm
was.
from. Yeah, and ever since then, like our friendship has blossomed over the years, and we really have had the opportunity to grow together. Like
Yeah.
I remember our first wedding and to our last wedding, Fallon and I have, been in the trenches in this industry. And I'm really proud of the growth and I'm really proud of like how far we've been able to go. We actually did lunch, I think it was in 2019, 2018, 2019, at this five-star resort and just dreaming about doing weddings there. And we just had our first wedding there together. And it was an amazing event and really happy that we were able to do that together.
Yes, same.
Uh, and so today's conversation is really going to be wrapped around all the things that I felt were important from the perspective of a wedding planner that I feel like photographers should know. I feel like the relationship between a planner and a photographer is one that could be great or one that could be really strained based off of the way that a photographer performs that day or based off of the way that they even try to work with you. I'll just let you kind of get started on, what is the first thing that you feel like you wish photographers knew.
We're all learning and we're all growing and trying to figure out how to work together. And I think this, if there's anything, what I'm experiencing right now is just the cost of photography is so broad that I have no idea how to talk to everyone. I have like I was like I have no idea what I would want them to know other than maybe could y'all like work together to give me some type of price guide to what, because I'm getting, when I reach out to photographers or when my team does, because now I'm just like mama's tired, but when my team does the outreach, I was like, hey, these are my top fives. These are some new people I want to work with. And then here are some miscellaneous people I just recently saw on Instagram. And we also have a handful of people that the client wants us to reach out to. And it's always the one that the client wants us to reach out to that are $2.50 and they include travel and they coming from New Zealand. And it's like the people I'm recommending are $30,000, travel's not included. It's extra for the second shooter. And I'm like, how am it
How do I
makes me look
communicate this?
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think pricing is a hard one for us because we are truly all over the board, and there's not really a standard in terms of what people are charging. And I also feel like in the industry right now, there is a lot of push for us to charge more. And
Mm,
then also too, I feel that when someone sees a planner that they may not have worked with, they feel like I'm just going to do what I got to do to get the job and not realizing that that may be a disservice. Like like you said, you may be reaching out photographers that are 30K and then you have somebody coming in that is 5 or 10 and like throwing you the kitchen sink
mm.
trying to get the job. And I wonder, like, with that process of what you're seeing from the client side, what's making their buying decisions? Like, I know price is a big portion of it, but that person that's the lowest price always doesn't get the job.
I
And
agree.
so I would love to explore a little bit more about like what goes into that.
So right now, what most of my clients are looking for is someone who's been featured, right? We just booked a photographer that I've never worked with, never even heard of because their price was so actually impeccable. I could not compete with any of the people I put in front of my bride. And she was like, the algorithm has showed me these people. They all have been featured in Vogue. They all have a really great portfolio. And I was like, well, the first thing we got to do is set up a call. So she has a call with these people. There's spirit exchange. They fall in love with each other. And the girl is literally, like you're saying, throwing everything in, even the kitchen sink. And like, I'll even deliver some stuff 24 hours later. And I'm like, yo.
Yeah.
So it's like my bride is thinking it's a win-win for her,
Yeah, I mean,
100%.
it is. It is. And and I feel like from that standpoint it is. And but I feel from the side of the photographer where I want to like shake them and be like, "Hey, like they were willing to spend 20K and you kind of undercut yourself by not understanding your
Mm,
value." Because that's happened to me like a lot actually. Just as I've, moved on to a different market, like I'm always undercut. And I understand I'm expensive. It is what it is. But I know that they had a budget of
yeah.
$25,000 for photography and you came in at seven. You just left money on the table, and I
Mm-hmm.
feel like those are the hard conversations to have. It's like a fine line because you want to be able to honor what the client wants and, honor their
Yeah.
budget. But at the same point with photography and understanding how hard this job is and
Yes.
understanding how much effort goes into it and inflation.
That part.
I feel for those situations knowing that, hey, there was an opportunity that you potentially could have made more.
I was going to say, I will say there is a lack of education that I am trying to still get up to speed on, as far as on the consumer side of what actually goes into producing these photos. And I know you and I've had a lot of conversations of like, there's curation and there's of course the editing, and it takes some time and dedication to really sift through thousands and thousands of pictures to find the right ones, right? And I think what happened with this current client that I'm talking about is she actually had another photographer that we were interested in working with who was also kind of on the lower end. They were based in Miami, and she got the recommendation from a cousin of hers, went to the wedding where this photographer was shooting, and she was actually able to experience this photographer in action. And she came back to me after the wedding and she was like, "Oh, we can absolutely not work with her." And I was like, "Well, what did you see and what did you experience?" And she was like, "Oh, she was only taking pictures of like the main things. She missed a lot of candid moments." And she would not have known that
Yeah.
unless she had experienced that firsthand. And in this world, we don't, in weddings, we don't have that luxury of like trying people out and
Yeah.
learning from that mistake. And I think that's a disservice that some of these kind of more economical options are giving. It's like, yeah, you're getting the hero shot and maybe the one that does get on Vogue, but you're not getting the memories that are lasting a lifetime that these people are really trying to make an album out of. You know what I mean? And our clients don't necessarily know that. And it's up to us to try and educate them on like, there is a reason that I'm a $60,000 photographer, and there's a reason that these other ones are $10,000. How do we communicate that to the consumer?
Yeah. And I think that is also just such a disservice to the client, but that happens because I remember being that photographer who like 7,500 was a stretch, like
Mm,
y'all know I started my journey making $500 for a wedding and was scared to charge 7,500. And so unfortunately, being a wedding photographer, it is kind of like you have to learn as you go. And
yeah.
so, and now price point doesn't reflect experience. And I don't think it ever has, like I really feel like it hasn't because there's some really great photographers who's only been out in the industry a few years and they have done really well because their work is great. But I do feel like now when it comes to working with wedding planners that vetting that happens about the day of is kind of what keeps those doors open or closed.
Mm,
Because with you in these scenarios, I know that there's a lot of conversation that goes in with your client, like, hey, I'm not responsible if this doesn't work out.
that part.
Yeah.
And I'm still having to bring my own shooter. Like,
Yeah.
what if this person goes left? I now still have to bring in a BTS person I have
Hmm.
to bring in someone that's going to shoot my details the way that I like them shot. There's a reason that I work with you. There's a reason I work with my top five is because I can walk away and I come back, I'd be like, Liz, you got it? You like, yeah, I got it. I was like, cool. Like that's,
Yeah.
I don't want to have to be like, so can you get it like this? Can you lean over to this side? And it's like, I don't have
Yeah.
time for that.
Yeah, even on my journey, wanting to work with other planners, wanting to broaden my horizon. I love Fallon. I can't shoot all her weddings. If I could, I would, y'all. But it's just not
Okay.
realistic. But I think that that is real because there's a lot of trust that goes into recommending a photographer. And you're entering into someone's workspace. And
Mm,
so for me, I'm trying to communicate. I know what I'm doing. I'm professional. We communicate. We are very big on the front end logistics. I'm not going to walk up to you in the middle of the wedding and ask you questions, because my team already has everything laid out. No, but for real, because you know how that is on a wedding day and how annoying that is. And so I think a lot of times when it comes to photographers, we want to be recommended. We want to be on those lists. We want to be considered. But we also have to understand that there has to be some sort of vetting, and it's
mm,
unfortunate because I really know what I'm doing, and that has been hard for me to stomach where I am in my career, because like people have who they like to work with, not just because of the images but because of the behind the scenes. And so like thinking about adding an extra layer of not understanding pricing on top of that, it just makes it really really complicated. And so I really wish that there was a standard that we all could set,
yeah.
but that's actually illegal. Like it really is. Like it's
Yeah.
basically like I forget what it is called, but we can't know what each other's is charging to for the client. Like what is it? Price fixing? That's what that is. Um,
Mm,
so we can't do that. But I also want to say a really good indicator to me when I was making this journey to figure out what my pricing should be was the overall budget for the wedding. And so if I didn't understand, what I should be charging, it was a good indicator to me, like, hey, if this is $1 million wedding, I shouldn't be coming in at 10,000. Like
no.
when I was making that journey, because I didn't know, like, I just started to do pricing proposals in 2019 because I had no idea how to charge myself. Let me tell you, there is nothing more gut wrenching to lose a wedding because you didn't
Because your
charge
price
enough.
is too low. Yeah.
Yes, like
Yeah. You look
I tell
untrustworthy.
these were the hardest lessons. I'm still learning them. I'm going to be honest. I'm still
We
learning
all
them.
are. But that's what running a business is. We make and but the thing is as we get older and more mature in our business, the lessons become way more expensive. So it's
Yeah.
like you need to learn quick and you need to be extremely dedicated to figuring this out fast. Discernment is absolutely necessary if you want to scale.
I agree with you. And so I want to ask a question of like, how can photographers reach out? Like, what are some ways that they can potentially interact with you in order to be able to be considered later on?
Okay, so I know this. So I'm a positive affirmation girly. And so I will say that the people who slide in my DMs or who comment on my Instagram pictures, I actually remember them and I'm like, oh, I want to work with this person. And I have literally a little folder that's like, all right, when I get the right opportunity, I'm going to do this one and this one and this one. And also, I get a lot of emails of like, hey, this is my portfolio. And they're like, Fallon, we love your work. You can just stop all of that. You can just say, hey, I'd love to work with you. Here's a link to my portfolio, period. I don't need all the fluff. And I actually have an email folder that says, photographers in Italy, photographers in Europe, photographers in Kansas, whatever it might be. And I hold on to those. And when my client may either have a tricky budget or if I'm actually looking for a BTS photographer in the area, I'm like, all right, this is my opportunity to test so and so out to see if the vibe checks right. And then I can actually put them on a wedding after they do BTS for me.
I really appreciate you saying vetting because I've been vetted many times where I know that, hey, this planner does very high end weddings, but they're putting me on one where I know that the stakes aren't as high as,
Mm-hmm.
the other ones that they have. And so I know, and I won't even say entry level because these are still very beautiful, intricate weddings, but it's not like, hey, I'm like the one we did. Like this is, you know, premier client, $1 million budget, like there's a lot of moving parts. I need to know the person that's on the ground is going to do
Hmm.
what they need to do. And so I think that that is also something to take into consideration, like when you're talking with planners or when you are really thinking about reaching out, like if you see them come with a job, you need to make sure that you get that job, because that is
Hmm.
the first step in order for you to work with them. Now you have a wedding together. Now you have something to show in your portfolio. Now you have an opportunity, like behind the scenes, to show your basically your PR of how you operate. Because
Yeah.
my thing that I'm learning on this journey over the last few years is we get jobs because we know how to work behind the scenes. Having Imani there and having someone that is always available, like, oh, turn right back around and say, if you reach out, hey, are you available with your pricing? Or like, what is,
Hmm.
give me a quote quickly. That stuff matters because
It
you are just
does.
one drop in the bucket when it comes to what with these planners have going on. And the second you stop centering yourself and feeling like you're the most important thing, like in terms of me feeling like I'm the most important. Why aren't you working with me and
Mm.
making it more easy for them to work with you, the better you will be. Everybody wants to get through these doors. But I also feel like something else to kind of keep consideration is growing together.
Yeah.
Because Fallon and I have grown together, child.
Yeah, we were young chickens once upon a time. Now
Once
we're
upon a
mature,
time.
sassy ladies.
Look, look, to the point where it was like, girl, we're just gonna share this hotel room. We're
I
just going
mean, I mean, we've done a lot of
we've done a
oof.
lot.
Hmm.
Yeah, we've definitely,
Yeah.
and we're both over here like,
I was like,
y'all,
ooh,
there
child,
has
you
been
don't.
there has been some moments where, we had to do what we had to do. And I feel like that needs to be talked about more. Like when even now where I am, it's like, girl, I'm looking at planners that have 20, 25 years experience,
That
you
part.
know? And so being respectful of the experience that they have, they've seen some things. So even with me, with my 10 years experience coming in and saying, I'm the best photographer for you, there's a cohort of people that they came with, that they have worked
Mm.
with over the years, that I'm trying to penetrate in terms of me being considerate. And then, so that also has shaped my mind of making sure that I cast a very wide net and making sure that, I'm a part of many conversations, because it's just there's so many great options to choose from.
There are. But also, I think there's this world that the wedding planner is like so up here. But there are some photographers that I fangirl and I'm like, I cannot wait to finally get so and so to shoot one of my events. Because yes, I can plan it, but having the right person shoot it is what can elevate my rinky dink bud vase and turn that thing into like the Taj Mahal esque. Like it's it's so paramount the connection that we have to have together from photographer and planner. And it's like you guys think that we're so much up here, and it's like yeah, maybe from like direct contact with client, but I kind of think we're leveled out here where sometimes my bride is coming to me saying, "I would love XYZ to shoot our wedding." And it's like, all right, cool, let's figure out how to make that happen, right? So there's definitely a correlation to how we do grow together. But also I can still fangirl on some photographers that I'm like, I cannot wait for them to shoot it.
Y'all,
It's
she
gonna look so
fangirl. She
nice.
talks about me, okay?
Of course, of course, of course.
Joking. And I totally understand that. And I think that, when you're working with planners too, and this is why it's important to cast that net, like you said,
Mm,
because like you have people that already, really want to work with. So that's when our marketing comes into play.
yeah.
That's when the outreach comes into play. Because you're like, oh, I've already talked to so and so, or oh, I know who so and so is, because you've already had that connection. And
Yep.
so it's just another level of reaffirming with the client saying, this is who I want to work with. And now it's like, of course,
Of course.
there'll
Yeah.
be a perfect fit.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be honest, and this is the thing that with photographers you have to understand, that dynamic is difficult. And that's why now, like at that price point, you really have to focus on the outreach for the planners.
Hmm.
Because now you may think that, luxury clients aren't making their decisions based off of social, they absolutely are. They are lurking. They are not commenting, but they are lurking, and they are saving, and they are
They have a
on
whole album.
they have an old album. They are on Instagram. They are on TikTok. So all of the mechanisms that you have in place still matter. You just may not be getting direct outreach anymore. So and that's why it's important to have that extra layer of
Hmm.
reaching out, because now you have another layer of someone that you need to agree with,
Yeah.
like, this is a good photographer.
Yeah. And even to go back to what you were saying of like, proposals and kind of being ready and being responsive. A lot of times I've kind of washed someone that was like probably on my top three. I've washed them away just due to the fact that they responded late. They didn't have, they came back and asked me a question and like, oh, what can we get more information? And I'm like, I don't want to talk to you. Like I'm literally sometimes reaching out to 10, 12, even 15 photographers to give my girl like, here's your high, mid, low, right? And the last thing I need is one of y'all to be asking me some questions about, oh, well, are you thinking about this? Usually my inquiry is really tight. We're doing a welcome. We're doing
Yep.
this type of event. I need an 8, 12-hour package. We need a second shooter. I don't want you coming back asking me nothing. Just send me the packages. Travel's included. Like, just do the whole thing as much as you can and say, this is an estimate. Like, love, great. I'm good at ideal. I can identify that this ain't gonna be the hard cost. I'm not gonna hold you to it, but give me something.
And then also understand that that initial outreach from a planner, again, like she said, timing matters, but also there may be silence for a while. And
Oh, I go
understand,
crickets.
yeah, there may be crickets, and it's like, oh my God, what happened? I thought I was being considered. And it's like, no,
You
you
are.
are being, I mean, you're being considered, but like, you are at the very beginning stages. Like, they are vetting, they are looking through pricing, they are trying to, like, saying, okay, this is the style we want to go with. Who's available? It may, like, they're just trying to get availability and pricing and building that budget. So I think that initial getting the information to them as quickly as possible, understanding that there may be a week or two before you hear back, also following up, and then
Mm.
also trying to get a consultation if you can, because sometimes the clients are making the decision based off of portfolio and based off of pricing. And I think that that is something that really is different in terms of selling at this juncture and when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to dealing with planners, and even at this price point. So I feel that that has been something that has been different for me, that I've had to really change the way my proposals look. Fallon got one of my new proposals. She was like, oh,
It's
yes.
nice.
Yeah, because honestly, I realize that this may be only the touch point that I have with the
Yeah.
potential client at this point. So I'm not at the point where we're having consultation. They're literally making their decisions based off of your recommendation, based off of pricing, based off of style. And so if this is the only touch point I have, it needs to be
It.
immaculate. Yeah, it
Yeah,
needs to be
needs to be
it.
it. Yeah. So when I cast my outreach, I have a spreadsheet that has lots of tabs and filters, and so I'm ranking everything based on aesthetic, responsiveness, on of course price, what's included, what's not included. And again, if we're going through 15 different options, it's a lot of homework, and it takes me sometimes 2 to 3 weeks to just get this thing in a way that I'm like, all right, this girl can look at this. I'm sorry, I'm being gender like I'm not
So
being inclusive. I love all of y'all, but I really do just work with women. Like, so, but we're putting this list in front of them and we're saying, choose your top three. From your top three, I will schedule a phone call with you and them. I'm not going to even be on the call because I don't even want to be in your head. I want you to have a clear go. Just have your fun. But I also have a call with them before they have that call. I have
yes,
a call with that photographer. And then
yes,
from those three, that's how they make their choice, ideally,
yes.
in a perfect
And
world.
and I like that, because even having that pre-call, because there's been some weddings with planners that I may have met at conferences or whatnot, and I know that the conversation we're having right now is a pre-vetting. And before they put me in front of the client, before I'm even being considered, because even those top three is like, let me reach out to her, let me touch
Mm,
base with her, let me see how she works, what does her team have, just how does she function behind the scenes. And I treat it as a conversation, but I'm also knowing that this is kind of an interview. And I think we need to understand that that is a part of the story. You are, again, worked really, really hard. really hard to get where you are in your career. And most planners are the same way. And to have a bad experience on the day of for a wedding planner in terms of a vendor that I recommended could be really, really
It could be,
detrimental.
yeah,
Yeah, to
100%.
their business. And so I think as photographers, we need to understand that and honor the spaces that we are being entered into and understand that it is going to take time. Anyone who is doing real high-end weddings, it takes time for you to be able to work with them. And that's just what it is. And I don't feel it at the beginning of my journey, I'm not gonna lie, I was like, I'm good. Like
If only
why
I could take a page from your confidence book. I'm
look,
here for
like, why don't you
that.
want to work with me? But no, seriously, it truly, it's a humbling experience to really enter into these spaces and understanding like there is a reason why I'm gonna name drop because he's my favorite. Jose is
Mm,
Jose. Okay.
yeah.
He does great work, but he is an amazing individual. And I can say this because we've met, we've had conversations, and the way that he works behind the scenes is makes everyone's life easier. And
Hmm.
so I feel that when big jobs come, you want the team that you know is going to perform, and that's easy to work with.
I agree.
What would you honestly say to photographers that are like, "Hey, I'm middle market. I'm really trying to get to the point in my career of wanting to shoot luxury weddings. Like, what should they be focusing on right now that you feel like is important for that growth and potential for them working with you?"
Well, first I would ask them why do they want to work in either a luxury or an ultra luxury market? Because as someone who is like,
Girl, that's a whole another podcast.
I was like, oh, but the middle market's so cute and they don't really like bark too much. But
Look,
when you're
I
like,
look, we're gonna
you sure?
segue for 1 second. Val and I have a lot of conversations of if
Like, you sh
we should have stayed in middle market. Like
girl.
life was just so different, and I mean, we were in,
Consistency.
yeah, and enjoying that journey. Like it was a really good time. So middle market is great, by the way. Like don't
Yeah.
let anybody sell you and tell you it's better here on the luxury side of things.
There's power in volume.
Yeah.
But I can understand the desire to, you know, have the more elevated imagery, right? And I would say identify why you want to go there and what do you possibly need to do on your end to have your imagery directly look like that. And sometimes it is accessibility. Like you have kind of the wrong pool or the wrong demographic and you do need to get into that new market. But are there ways in which you could leverage your existing community to actually find what you might? I lean into this feeling of you already have everything that you need. So maybe it's reimagining what you currently are working with to just elevate it slightly, whether that's new equipment, whether that's taking a lighting course, maybe that's just getting some slight mentorship. But you could turn your little $150,000 wedding and make it look like a 500,000, but you know,
The
you can
fact
get
you
funky
said
with
little
it.
150,000 salad.
Those are cute. I got
You know what? Yeah,
some.
but you know what? For real, they are. And I want to say this as well. One of the things that I recognize on this journey is luxury knows what luxury is. And so everybody right now is selling you on, oh, this is luxury, 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 luxury. But people who have money can sniff out
That part.
when
That
it's
part.
not real. And
And they
so
aren't using the word luxury. Rich people don't be like, I really want a luxury wedding photography.
no,
Come now.
if you're even using the word luxury in your branding, you're doing yourself a
Out.
disservice. But
Out.
I will say the biggest difference, even with me on this journey, is it's hard for your portfolio to look like you're at an Amman in the Maldives when you're not at an Amman in the Maldives. You know, so your portfolio is going to truly match kind of where you are, and you can make it as elegant and as beautiful as possible.
Yeah.
But I think really focusing on taking really great images and really focus on really trying to find those opportunities at the places that you want to potentially shoot and at the places where luxury is really
Hmm.
important. Because
Yeah.
like I remember my first wedding at a Four Seasons. It looked like I was at a Four Seasons. And I feel like in my portfolio took me some time to curate things in a way that looked like, that spoke to that clientele.
Yeah.
And so you have to give yourself time and grace. You could do as many editorials as you want. The planners at this level know that they're all editorials. And so
Because I'm like, oh, that's nice. Okay, that actually I don't see a real that doesn't look like love. You're right. I do know.
I was like, Fallon, I'm gonna let you have your moment in this
I was
because
like,
you
do
know.
I?
But again, those editorials are important for your growth, and they were
100%.
important for my growth because again, it allowed people to see my skills in the type of photographer that I
Yeah.
was. And you will find your tribe. You will find the people that you are supposed to be working with. I will again end this by saying, reach across, grow together. It is
Yeah.
always easier to grow with someone than it is trying to penetrate somebody else's circle
That
because
part.
they have their people and they have their systems. Not to saying they won't take a chance, because Fallon, you always are working with new people, which I love.
But I will say, when you talked about the editorial thing, one thing that just was helpful for my career is people seeing me in the place that I wanted to be. So
Yep.
whenever I travel to Mexico or Europe or wherever it might be, take your camera with you, take lots of content and use that. It doesn't have to be a bride and a groom, but it can be aesthetics, and people resonate with that. So it don't feel like, I mean, you can go to the editorial workshops because I do think they are helpful when you get the right shot, but
Mhm.
really focus on just being in the scenery and the environment that you desire to work more in, and have the content that matches that, and people pick up on that.
Yep. And I think the last part I will say is don't feel inferior about your pricing. Your price is your price. Send it out. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And you truly are just going to have to go through growing pains when it comes to
That
your
part.
pricing and really think about what type of planners are reaching out and what type of budgets, overall budgets you are competing against. And that will be a great way for you to figure it out. Again, I know I have really said, I'll never forget this. God, I'm just gonna be transparent. I never forget this. I sent a quote for 15,000 and I'm over here like upset. Like this is a lot of money. Like 15,000 is a lot of money.
Hmm.
And come to find out, they went with a photographer that was 30. And so I looked crazy coming in at 15. And so again, those were really, really hard lessons to learn. And
Expensive
again,
ones.
expensive. Because I mean, again, like here, add it to it, but
Yeah,
just pricing yourself accordingly and understanding that there are definitely going to be growing pains along the way.
100%. Know your worth, and I think that starts internal. So if there's some work that you need to do to identify what your relationship with money looks like so that you can charge what you are quote unquote worth, there might just be some inner child work to do, which I'm still going through. But yeah, good luck with
we're
that.
going we're going through it together, girl. Well, Fallon, thank you so much for coming on. This is a really, really
Thank
great
you.
conversation. I really
Thank you.
appreciate your insights. And if you could let everyone know where to follow you, where to find you, how they could slide into your DMs.
Slide on in. I'm ready. You can follow me at Fallon Carter Events on Instagram. I'll get a TikTok one day. And then I think that's all you need, because my website is also my name, FallonCarterEvents.com.
Well, guys, thank you for joining us this week, and we'll definitely be back soon.
Thank you.